We explored how the prototype inheritance works in JavaScript, and we did that using a couple of different techniques. So we used a constructor function, ESX classes, and object.create. Now all of these techniques basically allow objects to inherit methods from its prototype, so to delegate their behavior to prototypes. But it's time to turn our attentions to more real inheritance between classes, not just prototype inheritance between instances. But of course, you already know that real classes do not exist in JavaScript. But anyway, here, what we're gonna do, so we will create a new student class and make it inherit from the person class that we have been using so far. So person will be the parent class and the student will be the child class. That's because student is basically a subtype of the person. So the student can also use generate person methods like a call each method, and that is basically idea of inheritance. And now we will inherit between classes using constructor functions. So let's put it into practice now. So here I have the person function constructor and also have the call each method that I set up on the prototype property of the person. And so now let's continue by building a constructor function for student. So const student. Now usually we want a child class to have the same functionality as the parent class, but with some additional functionality. And so usually we pass in the same arguments, but then also some additional ones. So that's gonna be first name, birth year, and then we also pass in the course. And now everything works in the same here. So this dot first name set to the first name, and this dot birth year, and also this dot course. And you see that in fact this student class here has the kind of the same data as the person, but then it has an additional property which is the course. So now let's actually create new student. So I'm gonna call him Mike, born in 2002 and study computer science. And just to make sure, let's log into console. Here indeed it is. So let's now add a method as well. So we take a prototype property one more time and then create method called introduce. And so here we simply log like an introduction phrase to the console for the student to introduce himself. So my name is this dot first name and I study and then the name of the course. So let's call that here Mike.introduce, and that works. However, there's one thing that we should improve here in our student constructor function. And as you know, having repeated code is never a good idea because it violates the don't repeat yourself principle. But second, and even worse in this case, is that imagine that implementation of person here change in the future. Then that change will not be reflected in the student. So instead of having this duplicate code here, let's simply call the person function here, like this, and we call this person function constructor, and we need to manually set this keyword as well. If you want to call a function and at the same time set this keyword inside that function, we need to use the call method. The call method will indeed call this function, but we need to be able to specify this keyword here as a first argument in this function. And so this case, we want this keyword and this function to simplify this keyword inside this function here, because this keyword is gonna be in the beginning of this empty object that is being created by the new operator. And so it is on the way that new object where we want to set the first name and birth year property. So it is a working, and so this is a much better and more robust solution. So now we're gonna have to create this connection manually. And so to link these two prototype objects, we're gonna use object.create because defining prototypes manually is exactly what object.create does. So let's do that. So remember, this is important. We have to create in here, not there, not here, exactly here. And so student.prototype is now an object that inherits from the person.prototype. As I said earlier, we have to create this connection here before we add any more methods to the prototype object of student. And that's because object.create will return an empty object. And so at this point, student.prototype is empty. And so then onto that empty object, we can add the method like this. But if we did other way around, after we create this method here, then object.create override this method that we have already added to the prototype object of student. And so now we should be able to do my.callAge. Indeed, we get the age of 35. And so let's inspect all of this in the console. So this is gonna be true. Yes, indeed. Because the student is the constructor function of Mike and the person is also the constructor function of Mike, so Mike is also instance of object as well. It's because we link the prototypes together.